Hi, Warriors. Welcome back to another episode of Soul Restoration. It's me, your girl Dana, back at it again with another great episode for you guys. All right, so it's been about 6 months since I've recorded, and in that 6 months, I have moved. We're going through a pandemic, and those are all things I'm going to touch on. And then I'm also going to touch on the new series that I want to do on the channel, seasonal depression and how that's going to be influenced by the pandemic, and then the new business that I'm starting. Not necessarily in that order, but just all things that I'm going to be talking about. So first things first, I moved. And so that was a part of my New Year's resolution. I wanted to go somewhere new so I can not necessarily like reinvent myself. I'm still pretty much the same person, but just to see what I was made of, to see if, when you're in the same place for a really long time or for an extended amount of time, you just kind of become complacent. You don't try as hard. You get used to everything and you get comfortable. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with being comfortable, but you don't try as hard when you're comfortable. You don't push yourself as comfortable. You're just gonna stay where you are because there's nothing amazing about it. It's not super hard and it's not super great. It's just decent. So you're gonna stay decent. I didn't want to stay decent. I wanted to try and see where I can go, what I can do, what I was made of essentially. So the beginning of the year, January, I said I was gonna move to Georgia. About in March when the pandemic just hit, I didn't think that was gonna be a goal. I didn't think that was gonna be a goal that I could achieve just because, everything was shutting down, and then with work everything was just getting crazy, and I didn't know if I was actually going to be able to accomplish my goal. Turns out I was, and I was very excited about it. And so me and my cousin packed up everything we own and drove to Georgia. Since I've been here, I've got exactly I got exactly what I was at, what I wanted. That's not a good thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just I have never had to try so hard in my entire life because it's been kicking my ass constantly, I mean, I felt like since I moved here, it's just been one boom, 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 boom after the other. And but what I'm constantly also reminding myself is that all those booms and all those everything popping up, it's all everything I asked for. You know what I mean? Said I wanted something different. I said I wanted to push myself. I wanted to see what I was made of. I got it. I know what I'm made of, and I'm a tough ass. Okay, like sorry, mommy, sorry, daddy, if you're listening to this. But that's exactly what it is. I mean, I have been challenged in ways that I never even imagined. Been put in situations that I never would have wanted to be in. Still don't want to be in, but I have been there. So I've had to really try, and I know that now I know that, there's really nothing that I can't really handle or get through. And a lot of that is due to, well, me as a person, but also the people that I surround myself with. So, like shout out to y'all. Y'all know who you are. If you've helped me in the last 6 months, if you've answered a phone call, a text message, or deal with me like not dealing with you just because I've been going through it, trust me, y'all are A1s and I love y'all forever. But yeah, so there's that. And part of me moving, this is like one of the really good things that came out of this that I'm really, really happy about. Part of me moving, I decided that I didn't want to serve anymore. Like when I first moved here, I got 2 serving jobs, and first one was not really making a lot of money. It was really slow. Pandemic, really slow. Second one, money was decent, hours were long, but I still found myself being completely miserable there. And I had to say to myself, well, you moved to Georgia essentially because you wanted to try something new and you wanted to do something different. You've been serving for the last 5 years. What's so different about that, Dana? Try something new. So I applied to be an assistant teacher at this learning facility, and I got the job. And it was probably one of the best things. Like I said, one of the best things that's happened to me since I moved here. I love it. It's a job. I mean, I love it. I love working with kids. They say the darndest things, honestly. Like, children are weird, but they're little people. And I mean, I love having influence over that. I love having influence over that. teaching them things that they necessarily might not get at home, or just even like being there in ways for them that their parents don't even know. Like, I can't really get into details. Just, I mean, they are kids, but I feel like, the little moments we have are really personal. But trust me, I have a lot of those like little personal moments where I know like this is gonna mean something to that kid. So I've worked with mostly toddlers. There have been some like first and second graders, third graders also, but I know that there are moments where they're really like, and then there are moments where it's just like, oh my God, are y'all really doing this? Like, it's just, but overall, it's a really fun experience that I really would not trade for anything. And it's definitely influenced me. I mean, I've gotten much from them as they have gotten from me. So it's pretty good. It's a even trade. I get, one of my favorite things I always say is that I get hugged and told that I'm loved like every day, and who doesn't want that? Even though I'm pretty sure like, they really, they're just being kids. But to me, I'm like, oh, thank you. I needed a hug today. It's been a rough one. But it's really, really good. I definitely will not. Like I said, they've influenced me to the point where, I've always been known I wanted to be in psychology since I made that mine. And I've looked at several different fields of it, but since working with the children, I've definitely had my mind set on child psychology. It was it was a risk that I took, but I definitely had that in the back of my mind because, like I said, I had been looking at the different fields in psychology. So working with the kids, I know I wanted to test it out before I commit a whole 2 years mastering and getting licensed to work, and then getting the chance to work with kids and then being like, this is not for me. Because working with kids is not for everybody, and I see it. I see it almost on a daily basis when I'm with these old hags at work. I'm with these old hags who are yelling at kids for being kids. So, don't get me started on these ladies. But yes, sorry, I'm having a laughing fit. I'm just a mess. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is this pandemic that we have been in for majority of the year, which most of us would not. When this first hit and we was just told it would be a couple of months, now look at us about 9 months later and still in the middle of a pandemic. Yeah, no, listen, when this first hit, I was not dealing with it well. Like, it hit in my birthday month. I spent my birthday relatively like alone. I saw like 2 people other than my mother. Tear. But shout out to my mom for making my birthday lit, because she always comes through and making me smile and have a good time no matter what. But yeah, so we've been in here since March and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Now, that's been because people aren't social distancing. We're still having parties. We're still going out. I'm guilty. I'm very much guilty of still going out because, I'm in a new city, and I always said that during the time that I'm here. All right, let me backtrack. So when Corona first hit, like I said, my birthday month, I was social distancing. I ain't see nobody. I ain't really go out. I ain't do absolutely nothing. Feel me? I wasn't for like a week and a half. I wasn't working either. So I was basically just at home, and then went back to work a little bit. Started to know people slowly, but not like on a grand scheme basis at all. So then once I moved, in the beginning, I was still social distancing and like staying home other than going to work. And I mean, still wearing my mask. I was serving, like I said, I was serving when I first moved here. So still that extent, being around limited amount of people. But after a while, damn, like I just moved here. Like I'm gonna be stuck in the house the whole time. Nah. So I started going out more, like I started going out. I wanted to explore, like limited, still limited, but still just needing to see the city. Like, it's a lot to ask of people. And I mean, it might be selfish. I'll accept it if some of y'all want to say that's selfish, but shit, I'm living for myself. The fuck? But still, I mean, every time I've gone out, I've still taken precautions. Like I said, mask and hand sanitizers, and anytime I've been in like a grand gathering. So like I went to like a concert, I came back the next day, COVID test, boom. When I had gone back to Florida like one time, boom, came back, COVID test before I came. Like, so still taking precautions, but still refusing to not live my life. And I mean, call it what you will, but I'm having a good time. So there's that with the pandemic. Now, because I'm talking about the pandemic, I'm going to string into seasonal depression because for those of us located in the USA, we are in the winter months, and this is the time it's getting darker earlier. We're already going out a lot less because it's cold. And that's a lot of time where seasonal depression flares up. And again, I've touched on depression in previous episode, but depression has different faces. There's functional depression, and then there's a depression where you're stuck in your bed and you can't go home. Stuck in your bed and you can't get up, right? It's varies more of a spectrum than it is like a one fit all when it comes to depression. As a functioning person with depression, I know. Like, you get your tough days and then you get your really, really tough days. Because every day is a struggle and a battle when you're dealing with depression. But you definitely have your days that are a lot worse than others. Now, with the pandemic, where it's like we're already limiting what we're doing to begin with, and on top of it, with everything I said going on, like getting darker earlier, we're not really going out because it's colder. With all my other people that express that go through seasonal depression, we're definitely going to need to stay strong and double down on the things we know that we need to do to help us not get really bad, like seriously bad. So for me, I am making sure that I'm still doing the things that I like to do, that I can do. So it's just like little things, making sure that I'm still doing all those things. I'm still so I had stopped doing my yoga on a daily basis. Now with the winter months coming, and I know my depression tends to like flare up during this season, I'm gonna start doing that again. Just don't give yourself the chance. So I know it's not like you're choosing to have depression, but there are things that we can do to be our best self, so that if and when it comes, with those of us that are battling it, we have a clear head to deal with the situation. So whether that is seeking a therapist, getting on medication, but it's like if you're already not taking care of yourself and you're already at a miserable point in your life or an unhappy point in your life, you're going to be easier to succumb to it. All right? So take care of yourself, guys. That's really what I'm saying. It's just take care of yourself, because this is going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Like, this time around, daylight saving times hit like a ton of bricks. Like, it's 5 o'clock and I am already, well, not like right now, but when it hits 5, 6 o'clock and it's already dark out, I'm tired. I'm yawning. I'm ready to go to bed. Like, they threw an extra dose of melatonin in there this time around, and it's playing absolutely no games and nobody's safe. Had your wife, had your kids. Listen, it's getting everybody. Okay, so pandemic, seasonal depression, moving. So the last 2 months since I've moved here has probably been the hardest for me, and part of me not letting that kick my ass completely has been me deciding to start a business. So at Danelia's Emporium on Instagram and Facebook, I'm very excited because I'm just very excited. I need something to be excited about. But I'm very excited. So basically, starting off Danelia's Emporium. So my name is Dana Gay Danelia. So that's where I got Danelia. My middle name has always been, sorry, mommy. My middle name has always been my favorite part of my name. And it's also a shout out to my little sister who was named after me. And then my niece also has my middle name, and she would be very upset. I mean, it's her middle name also. She'll be very upset if I don't mention that. So all my Denelias out there. But that's where I got that name. So Denelias, and then Emporium, because it's not just like a store, it's not a shop, it's not a boutique, it's something grand. At least it is to me, and that's what it's gonna become to y'all, something grand. Starting off with the business, I'm gonna be selling designer inspired jewelry is my starting. When I launch next month, that's gonna be the first thing that comes out of the Emporium. Almost said boutique, did you catch that? Out of the Emporium, and then I'll slowly get into everything else. So I will keep you guys updated. If you can add a closer picture in there of it, but like I'm wearing one of my earrings right now, and I mean I love it. I'm testing it out because I don't want to give y'all anything that I wouldn't wear myself. So definitely, and I don't want anything like reactions or anything like that. So we're testing the product out before we put it on the market. So stay tuned and stay up to date at Denelias Emporium on Instagram and on Facebook. All right, and so last but certainly not least is my plans for this channel. So even though I just spent majority of this episode talking about what's been going on with me, I did hint about talking about the depression, seasonal depression, and then the influence of that on the pandemic. It is all about me helping you become the best version of becoming better, becoming a better you. I'm trying to become a better me, and stay tuned to it. So I finished up the last series, and then it ended kind of wonky, and I do apologize for that. I had filmed the last episode, but then that was also right when the pandemic was happening and everything was kicking off, and I never had a chance to upload it. So I do apologize about that. But I do have an amazing series coming up for you guys. It's basically 51 questions to help you heal. 51 healing questions, basically. And so over the next several episodes, I'm not gonna do a 1-question episode because then that's just too much. But I'll do 4 to 5 questions an episode, and I'm giving my answers out loud. But the best way that I'm suggesting that you yourself answer these questions is by journaling. Like I've mentioned in many of my previous episodes, I'm a huge fan of journaling because it's good to track your process, but it's also a good way for you to look back. Like, I mean, I have journals from years ago. Funny thing, like when I had just moved here and me and my cousin was like unpacking, I found a journal that I wrote like 4 years ago. And I was reading some of it, and my automatic thought was like, damn, D, you was going through it. Because I was. But when I was reading it, I was in a completely better place. And it was, it's good to know where you're coming from. Sometimes that you get lost in that. Sometimes everything gets so crazy that you don't realize how better off you were than you are at one point. Even when that's not the perfect point, you could still be going through it at that point in time. But compared to where you were years ago, you're still at a better point, right? And I needed that at that moment because it was like when we had just moved in, I was stressing, but different story, different time, different story. But yeah, so I do suggest that you guys answer the questions. So the whole thing, like I said, 4 or 5 questions. I'll go through. I'll answer them, and then I'll put them in the title in the box below it with all the 5 questions for that episode. And then if y'all want to, some of them are going to be really personal, but some of them might not be. And if you want to share them in the comments, your answers in the comments, so I can engage and converse with you guys, that would be absolutely amazing. But that's the plan, and we're going to stick to it at this time. So 51 questions. Are you guys ready? Because I'm really ready. So to stay tuned for that, you guys are going to need to subscribe, like this video, hit the notification bell so you can get posted on when I do our next episode and the first to the 51 healing questions. Bye, guys.